Well, hello, Nats fans, and welcome to another edition of the DoDCast Postgame Show. And I'm Drew Douglas. I'll be your host for tonight. And boy, what a game! And that game against the Nationals found a way to win 3-2. And that game was really filled. That game had everything in it. It had a pitcher's duel between Steven Strasburg and Steven Matz. Had a controversial play at the plate with Brian Goodwin throwing out Brandon Nimmo at the plate. We'll get into that a little bit later. It had some late inning heroics from Michael Taylor, yet another bullpen meltdown from the Nats, and finally a Ryan Rayburn walk-off who didn't even start the game, came in late in the game to pinch hit for Brian Goodwin, yet still found a way to win this game. So, man, what a game that was. And we'll get into the lines a little bit here. We had Steven Strasburg got to start tonight in his first game against the Mets, and boy, he was outstanding. He went 7 innings, only allowed 2 hits, and struck out 6. And tonight, he really had everything working for him. His control was a little erratic at times, but he had great command of his fastball, which is consistently sitting at 97, 98 miles per hour. And his curveball especially was just unhittable tonight, which was sitting at around 83 miles per hour. So he had around a 15 mile per hour difference between the two pitches, and he was just keeping the Mets hitters just off balance, guessing as to what was coming, and really nobody looked comfortable up there against him at the plate. And he was just named to the All-Star team yesterday, and after Scherzer last night proved that he definitely deserved to be an All-Star and possibly even the starter for the National League, Strasburg did an outstanding job tonight against the Mets, who have been really hot lately, and he definitely did an excellent job of proving that he does deserve to be in Miami, even though other starting pitchers such as the Nats' own Gio Gonzalez, the Mets' Jacob deGrom, and Dodgers' Alex Wood didn't get the honor of being named an All-Star. Strasburg managed to beat him out, and boy, did he prove that he deserved it tonight. A little bit from the Nats' offense tonight. Michael Taylor went 1 for 3 with that clutch 2-run homer in the 8th inning, which looked like it was going to win the game. But, with this Nationals bullpen, I guess you never really know. Bryce Harper went 1 for 3. Anthony Rendon, who's in the final vote, he went 1 for 4. Wieters went 0 for 3, but managed to score that winning run there at the end. And that was really it from the offense. Check the chat a little bit. Seth Ross says he's feeling better after a day of rest. That's good. Sorry to hear that you're feeling a little bit under the weather yesterday, but rest is always good, and glad to hear you're feeling better again. See, we'll get into a little bit about the Nats bullpen tonight, because even though they won, this has really been a recurring theme throughout the season. And although they did blow it towards the end, there were some encouraging signs, and mainly that was Joe Blanton, who he came in to face Yoenis Cespedes in a little bit of a jam, relieving Matt Grace. He had first and second and 2 outs, and he came in to pitch against one of the best hitters in the league, and Yoenis Cespedes managed to get him out. And since coming to the Nationals, he really hasn't been the same guy that we saw pitching out of the Dodgers bullpen over the last couple of years. But his last 4 appearances, including tonight, have been outstanding. He had tonight where he retired Cespedes. His last appearance against St. Louis, he went an inning and a third, didn't allow a hit and struck out a batter. His appearance before that, he pitched against the Chicago Cubs. He went 1/3 of an inning and retired the batter on only 1 pitch. And then his appearance before that against the Cincinnati Reds, he went an inning and a third and only allowed 1 hit. So although he didn't get off to the greatest of starts with the new team, but lately he's really pitched well and he's been impressive. So hopefully he's figured it out. He's able to keep things up and keep this up, what he's been doing lately, and is able to be a big contributor in the bullpen moving forward, because they really need him back there with so few reliable relievers. The more guys that they can have that they can count on to come in and get outs, the better. So if Blanton is able to return to what he was doing in LA, this would be a huge addition for this Nationals bullpen. Judah Joker says, what's stupid about the win requirements? Strauss goes 7 innings pitched with 0 runs and gets a no decision. Albers gives up a homer and one of the two batters he faces and gets the win. The win requirements are totally stupid in my opinion. I absolutely agree with you, Judo Joker, and that's why different writers such as Brian Kenny and these different sabermetricians are talking about banning the win and getting rid of it, because it's really, I mean, you see guys like Max Scherzer with his 20 wins. That's a big thing to talk about in the Cy Young discussion. But with the 20 wins, he could go out and give up 6-7 runs. He doesn't do that often, but everyone has a bad day here and there, and he could have a bad outing. The Nats give him a lot of run support and he gets a win. Or you could have what Strasburg did today, where he goes out, throws 7 innings, only gives up 2 hits, no runs, and he gets a no decision. Or if the Nats, let's say he'd given up only 1 run and the Nats didn't manage to score any, then he gets a loss, even though he pitched outstanding. So me personally, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to wins. It's certainly fun to look at if a guy has like 20 wins at the end of the year. It shows that he had a phenomenal year, but there's other stats that are more telling about what a pitcher has really done, such as ERA or fielding independent pitching. That's one of my favorites. So there's other stats that you can keep an eye on. I think the win is a little overrated, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just banished altogether over the next 10 or so years. Seems like everyone is already kind of working it out a little bit. And another thing I want to talk about is Michael Taylor. And boy, he's been outstanding for this team. When Adam Eaton went down with that unfortunate injury after getting off to such an amazing start for the Nationals, Michael Taylor has filled in admirably. And really, everyone was calling for a trade as soon as Eaton went down. But Taylor has just he's exceeded expectations by so much. And he's been amazing for this team. Tonight, he went 1 for 3 with a big home run, big 2-run homer in the 8th to take the lead. He had a strikeout tonight, but he's cut down on his strikeouts from in previous years. I know, me personally, I used to call him Michael K. Taylor instead of Michael A. because of his tendency to strike out a lot and really look like he didn't know what he was doing up there at the plate. But he's really matured this year. And Jorge Castillo of the Washington Post tweeted tonight that in his 57 games since Adam Eaton's injury, he's batting .299 with 12 homers in a 901 ops on base plus slugging. So he has exceeded expectations, and he's been phenomenal for this team. I don't think anyone really saw this coming when Eaton went down. But, with as well as he's played this year, if the Nats don't re-sign Worth for next year, I think Taylor so far has earned a starting job for next season. If you put him in center field, move Eaton to left field, because when Eaton was traded here, people were saying he was a little better in the corner outfield. But and then coming off of the major knee surgery, maybe that's a better fit for him. He doesn't have to cover as much ground. And Taylor is a guy with speed. He's an above-average defender. He could definitely handle playing center field. Seth said that he told his brother that when Eaton got hurt, he said, "Watch Taylor go off this year." And yeah, that was a great call from you, Seth. And I think you were one of the few people that really thought Taylor would go off, because he had a few extended chances with guys like Denard Span getting hurt, and he just didn't really take advantage of those chances. He's always been a great spring training hitter when he's seeing a lot of fastballs, and pitchers are still working their way back into the season. But in regular season, he hasn't really done much before this year. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch him mature into the player that he is today now. And although he's been frustrating in the past, it is fun to look back and think of what he did just last year. And he struggled so much, and now this year he's playing really well. So yeah, I've really enjoyed watching Taylor play. We'll talk about the Mets a little bit. Steven Matz, he pitched very well tonight. He was dealing with some injury issues at the beginning of this year, so he hasn't pitched too much this year. But tonight against the Nets, he really shut him down. He went 7 innings, allowed 4 hits, no runs, only walked 2, and was able to strike out 4. So he really had everything working for him. The Nats got off to a great start early. They had a lot of runners on base. In the first inning, they had Goodwin and Taylor on, and then Harper struck out looking, and Zimmerman grinded a double play. And that was a big opportunity missed. You don't like to see struggles with that, like that, with runners in scoring position and runners on base with the harder lineup up. But Nats were still able to get a win in the end, so it all worked out. But moving forward, you'd like to see a little more production in clutch situations like those with your best hitters at the plate, and Bryce Harper and Ryan Zimmerman, who were both named All-Stars yesterday. We had another situation in the second inning where we had a couple runners on. Nats, same thing, weren't able to get them in. So early on, the Nats were getting runners on, not able to do much. But then after that, really, Mats settled in, and the Nats couldn't even get runners on for the longest time until they got into their bullpen. The bullpen struggled a bit. Jerry Blevins, the former National, he came in. He only went 1/3 of an inning, allowed 1 hit and 2 runs with 2 walks. So, he's been a really reliable reliever for the Mets this year, and he was pretty solid when he was with the Nats a couple years ago, but he just didn't have it tonight. That happens. Everyone has bad nights. Paul Sewald came in relief of him. He was handed the loss, and he went 1 inning and allowed 1 run. And then Josh Edgin came in to face – he came in for the lefties. He went 1/3 of an inning and walked 1. And then Fernando Salas, he came in at the end to face Ryan Rayburn. He didn't retire Rayburn, obviously. That's why the game's over. We're not still watching the game. He didn't retire Rayburn. He allowed the 1 hit, which was a little blooper in front of Cespedes, which he made a great effort, almost made the play. It looked like he came up limping a little bit. The Mets have been pretty snake bit with injuries this year. And if Cespedes is hurt again, he's already been hurt several times this year. That could be a huge loss for them, as he's one of the best hitters in the league, and he's really their big power hitter in the heart of their lineup. Judo Joker, back in the chat, he said, I'll put it this way. I miss Turner. I miss Eaton. I missed Rendon when he was out. I honestly don't miss Worth this season. And, yeah, Worth, he's 38 years old. He's not what he was when he signed that massive contract here 7 years ago. But he was still having a productive year. His big thing is he sees a ton of pitches, which is exactly what you want in that 2-hole. Because with Turner leading off, I know he's hurt right now, but normally Trey Turner will be leading off. If he's able to get on, then you want someone behind him who sees a lot of pitches and gives him opportunities to steal. And Trey Turner, he's not your typical leadoff hitter. He has a lot of quick outs, and you'd like your leadoff hitter to see a lot of pitches. But if, let's say, he 1 pitch and gets out, or 2 pitches, he has a quick AB, then Worth is able to kind of do the leadoff hitter's job and see a lot of pitches, extend the starting pitcher, and give his teammates an opportunity to see what the pitcher is featuring that night. So although he's not as productive as he used to be, I think he's still a good player. I'm not sure he'll be back next year. I think he might be more better suited in the American League where he can DH. He's not playing the field every day. But Brian Goodwin has been outstanding in his absence. And, yeah, he's definitely made his absence he's made it a little easier to take for the Nets. Seth said, what do you like better for reliever, a win or a save? I think both stats are kind of flawed. I talked about the win a little bit earlier, and I think the save is also flawed because you got these guys like you'll have, let's say the Nats' typical closer is Cody Glover. He'll come in the 9th inning, and let's say he faces 7, 8, 9, but Blake Trinan, per se, came in the 7th inning, and he faced the heart of their lineup, the 7th or 8th inning. Like, that's really the save there. Cody Glover or whoever it is, he'll get credit for the save in the 9th inning, but really the save was when you're facing the heart of the lineup because, I'd rather face the bottom of the lineup than if you're facing the heart of the lineup. You're facing guys like Yoenis Cespedes or really any power hitters. So, I think both stats are flawed in their own ways, but, they give us something to talk about, I guess, and give us something to gauge when it comes to the award discussions at the end of the year or All-Stars right now. Apparently, Seth said, Yoenis Cespedes has some hamstring cramping per Terry Collins. He may not play tomorrow, but Curtis Granderson should be fine to start. And I guess that's not terrible news for the Mets if all he has is a little bit cramping. he'd be good in a couple days, if not tomorrow, as long as it wasn't a strain or a pull or something along those lines. And yeah, Granderson, he came in tonight, hit that 2-run homer when they were down to their last strike against Matt Albers. Boy, that was really crushing for the Nats. So we'll talk a little bit about Brian Goodwin. I talked a little bit about him earlier, about how he's made the loss of Worth a little easier to take, and he's been great in his absence. He went 1 for 3 tonight. He's hitting 300 over 300 over the last 10 games, and he's played Gold Glove caliber defense in left field. Tonight he had the amazing play where it was a little bit of a questionable call, but I don't know if it was Brandon Nimmo's call. He was the runner trying to score from second, or if it was the third base coach. But Brandon Nimmo tried to score from second on a 1-out single in the left, and Brian Goodwin threw him out by a couple feet. It was a perfect throw. And yeah, Nimmo really didn't stand a chance. He's not a guy with great speed, and I didn't expect him to go at all with 1 out, because then all it takes is really a ball into play, or like, I guess not a ground ball because you turned double play with a runner first, but sack fly into the outfield scores a run pretty easily. So I'm not sure that I would have sent him. I guess maybe they're trying to force the issue a little bit with Strasburg pitching the way he was. But so yeah, but that was an excellent play by Goodwin, and the Mets ended up challenging because they believe that Matt Wieters didn't leave him a running lane into home plate, but the call held. The runner was out at the plate. So yeah, that was a great play all around. A great throw from Brian Goodwin, and a great catch and tag from Matt Wieters. So that was definitely a fun and exciting play to watch. A little bit nervous during the review just because a pitcher's duel like that, if that call is overruled, I mean, you don't know if the Nats are going to be able to manage to get anything going. But yeah, I was glad to see that the call stood. He was out. And yeah, that was an excellent play all around for the Nationals. We'll talk a little bit about what happened today in the minor leagues. The big news yesterday was Eric Fetty moving back. He started this year as a starter. They moved him into the bullpen once the bullpen was struggling a little bit. Thought maybe he could come up, be a reliable reliever for you. And then yesterday they announced that he'd be moving back into the rotation to be an option as either a starter moving forward or a reliever. You'd think long-term he's a starter, but with this year, with guys like Tanner Roark really struggling and Joe Ross struggling, he has turned a corner a little bit, but you never know with him. You might want Fetty to come up as a starter, or with the bullpen issues, as we saw again tonight, might come up as a reliever. But his return to the rotation tonight, he pitched against the Buffalo Bisons, and he did not fare well at all. He came in, he didn't get a single out. He allowed 5 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, and 2 walks, and his ERA rose to 9.64. So yeah, if you come in, you give up 6 runs without getting a single out, I mean, that's an ERA killer for sure. So a little bit concerned about that, although, I mean, this is really, he's got to ramp back up as a starter now, because, you know, in spring training, being of the year, you start out and just throw a couple innings and then ramp up. So maybe this is similar to a spring training where he hasn't started in several weeks, and now it's something different to him. It's his first start in AAA. You know, when he moved to the bullpen, he was in AA. So there's a couple things to consider here, but it's definitely not encouraging, and it'll be something to keep an eye on over the next few weeks as the trade deadline comes up. If the Nats are maybe counting on him to be a reliever, if they don't want to tear up too much of their farm, I mean, I think it's a mistake to count on him, but you never really know with this team. So yeah, and then after Fetty left, Cody Satterwhite, he came in, he threw 2 innings, only allowed 2 hits, so that was, and no runs, that was solid. But then Sean O'Sullivan, he really pitched well. He came in, he pitched the final 6 innings and only allowed 1 hit with 3 strikeouts. So, you know, that's basically, he came in, he went the distance of a start, and he saved the bullpen. They've been struggling a little bit. So that was an excellent outing from Sean O'Sullivan out of the Syracuse bullpen. We'll go a little bit more through the minor leagues. The the Potomac Nationals are currently losing to Buies Creek 3-0 in the bottom of the 6th. The Hagerstown Suns, they're beating Lakewood 5-3 in the top of the 7th. They've managed 13 hits, so they're a good offensive team, and they're doing well again tonight. As I mentioned, Syracuse lost 6-2, but after Fetty left, the bullpen came in, did their job. Harrisburg, they lost to Binghamton 6-4. And the Class A short season, Auburn Doubledays lost 2-0. And the Gulf Coast League Nationals, they beat the Gulf Coast League Marlins 10-7. So, there's some good stuff going on down on the farm. And hopefully all those guys have some great futures ahead of them playing in D.C. We'll take a look around the division. Miami is currently losing 11-6 in St. Louis in the top of the 7th, although they have runners at first and second right now with 2 outs. So see if they can get a clutch hit here, possibly get back into this game. I saw Jeff Locke was really roughed up tonight. He gave up 11 runs, so, it wasn't his night, but it happens to everyone. Baltimore, they lost to Milwaukee 8-1, so they're struggling. They're in a tough division, the AL East, so they're by no means out of it, but they've been struggling a little bit lately, and they gotta pick it up for sure if they want to make the postseason. And then the Phillies beat the Pirates 4-0 tonight, and that's all from within the division. Check the chat real quick. Let's see. Yeah, Seth and Judo Joker were discussing wins and saves a little bit, and then Seth asked if I think the Nats have progressed throughout the year, and I'm not sure because this bullpen, it started out with Blake Trinan was the closer. Eventually, it was Sean Kelly, and this bullpen has kind of been it's been their Achilles heel all throughout the year. And then you've got guys like Tanner Roark who's struggling. Joe Ross, he's been up and down between the majors and AAA, but he's pitching well lately. But I'm not sure if they've improved. Maybe they've digressed a little bit, like Judo Joker said. But this offense they're unbelievable. Even without a guy like Adam Eaton, who was having an amazing year, they're still one of the best lineups in the league. Trey Turner's out. They're definitely gonna feel the effect of that over the coming months, but he'll be back late August, early September. So he'll be back for the postseason push in the postseason. So I think this offense is going to carry the team. And then the frontline starters like Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Gio Gonzalez, I think they'll all think really it's on the offense and those three to carry the team in the postseason. And hopefully Mike Rizzo is able to acquire a few impact relievers. But, other teams see what the Nats have done so far. The Nats bullpen has done. They know that they're desperate. So the price you think is going to be pretty high to acquire a reliever just because, the ball is in the other team's court. They know the Nats are desperate. And at this point, they'll really give up anything, or I wouldn't give up anything. You have untouchables like Victor Robles, Juan Soto, you'd think, Eric Fetty, but you give up a lot to acquire some impact relievers because you can't be blowing games like this in October. You can't have guys like Matt Albers come in and give up a homer when you're one strike away from winning a game. And it's not just tonight. This has been a continuous issue over the course of this entire season, and it definitely needs to be addressed before the postseason. Today's July 3rd, so the trade deadline is in 28 days, and the Nats are running out of time here to make some moves. So, I'm sure Mike Rizzo is on the phones every single day working on different trades. But, with this bullpen, I'm not sure how far the Nats can go into the playoffs. So we'll see what Rizzo is able to get done over the next 28 days. Hopefully bring in a few impact relievers. And maybe we'll see. Maybe someone will come up from the minors and impress. Like Trevor Gott, we saw him earlier this year. He struggled a little bit, but he's shown some potential. We got guys like Austin Adams pitching well. The minor leagues, there's a few guys, but it's not – you'd think any impact reliever is going to have to come from a trade acquisition. Judah Joker said, "Congrats on the first solo DoDCast on a win." Thank you very much. It's definitely a lot easier, a lot more fun and exciting to do this after a win than a loss. It's really disappointing after Albers gave up that homer, but it's always fun to see a walk-off win. So that was definitely an exciting game. He said, "Got to get the webcam authenticated for this milestone." Yeah, I'll look into that. Maybe you'll see it in the Hall of Fame someday. Seth said, "Do you think we can go deeper into the playoffs without getting major bullpen help? What if the bullpen has a great second half?" And yeah, as I touched on earlier, guys like Joe Blanton, who have struggled, he's improved over his last few appearances. Oliver Perez has pitched well lately. Enny Romero, he's pitched all right. Blake Tryon has improved, other than that little ninth inning meltdown. But I mean, they have quality arms in the bullpen. They've just struggled a little bit. So if you could get those guys to pitch like they're capable, Sammy Solis is back now. He struggled a little bit in St. Louis last night, and he pitched all right tonight. He managed to get 2 outs. He struggled a little bit getting strikes, but he's just coming back from the injury, so hopefully he can improve. So they definitely have quality arms in the bullpen. It's just a matter of if they can pitch to their capabilities, because if they can, they do have a quality bullpen. They're without a closer if Coda Glover isn't able to stay healthy, but I think they have quality arms. So get a couple impact relievers in the by the trade deadline, and I think this team is definitely in good shape as long as like Tanner Roark is able to figure things out and pitch like he has over the last few years, because he's been one of the most consistent pitchers, but over the last couple of years. But this year, he hasn't been able to find it. I think maybe he's dealing with an abbreviated spring training, having pitched for Team USA and the WBC. You hate to say that with him going out there and pitching for his country, but guys from the WBC historically have struggled a little bit. So, you don't really know what's going on with him. Hopefully, he's able to figure it out. If not, maybe he just doesn't make the postseason rotation, and then take an this offseason, come back next year, regular spring training, and he's back to the old Tanner Roark we all know and love. But yeah, this year he hasn't been himself. So hopefully they're able to help him figure things out, and he can return to his form from last season. And some more news out of the bullpen today. It was reported that Sean Kelly, who's been out with a back injury but had begun throwing again, has been shut down and has a setback. So it's, last year he was one of the most reliable relievers. He's out there pitching. He's a setup man for a lot of the season, and he was setting up for at first Jonathan Papelbon and then Mark Melanson after they acquired him. So he was really reliable last year. This year, he's been extremely home run prone. He battled some injuries, but he's finally working his way back. There's hope that maybe he could return to his form from last season. But with this setback, you don't know when he's going to begin throwing again. He's going to go out on a rehab assignment and build up his strength, and he'll be back. So, it could be a while before we see Sean Kelly back on the mound in the Nationals uniform. And hopefully when he comes back, if he comes back, he's pitching like he did last year, because this year is just kind of, I don't know, people were saying he's the leader out there in the bullpen, but he just hasn't been able to get results. So if he isn't able to get results once he comes back, I'm not sure that he finishes the year with the team. I mean, if you DFA him, you're eating a ton of salary, and the learners don't like to do that. But I mean, I'm not sure that you can keep running him out there and letting him just allow so many home runs and just always giving up runs as he was doing earlier this year. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Tomorrow we got Joe Ross pitching against Seth Lugo. That should be a good matchup. Hopefully with Joe Ross pitching, the Nationals offense is able to put up 15 runs like they seemingly always do. Joe Ross has been getting the best run support in the league this year. They got an 11 a.m. start time, so that'll be interesting to see how they turn around after this night game tonight. It started a little bit early at 6 o'clock, but 11 a.m. start time, that's always early. Players are getting to the stadium hours before the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes down. I believe Ron will be with you for that one. And So that's definitely, it'll be a fun game on 4th of July. Those are always fun. And against the Mets, that's always exciting. Today on the site, we had Ricky Keeler. He wrote a 5 to watch piece for this series. So that's definitely worth checking out. See how those players might have fared tonight, and keep an eye on how they fare the rest of the series. I'm not going to tell you who he picked. You got to go read it for yourself. But it's definitely a good read, and you should check that out. And I had a piece on how the Nationals had 5 players selected for the All-Star game. So, yeah, the Nationals will be very well represented when the All-Star game comes next week in July, and a fun one to watch. The Nats have never had this many players. They got 5 players in. They got Anthony Rendon in the final vote. Gio Gonzalez appears to be deserving. Maybe he'll be a replacement as pitchers become unavailable. And then, of course, they got the 3 starters in Ryan Zimmerman, who'll be starting at first, Daniel Murphy starting at second, and Bryce Harper starting in the outfield. So we'll check the chat one last time. Seth Ross said from Dusty. Dusty said that the biggest downer in baseball is a blown save late. He said that he later said that the team will fix the bullpen. And yeah, absolutely. When you're battling against a guy like Steven Matz tonight, who had great stuff, and you can't get much going, then finally in the 8th inning, Michael Taylor hits a 2-run homer, puts the team ahead. You're on top of the world. You got to lead against your big division rival. You got to lead late. Looks like you got to win. All you do is get 3 outs, and all of a sudden you blow the lead in the 9th inning. Where you're literally down to the last strike, and you got to start all over again. You're back to a tie game. So, yeah, that's got to be demoralizing, and this has just happened so much this year. So it's having an effect on the clubhouse. Hopefully, the guys are able to just kind of keep working, keep battling, put up a lot of runs, and not leave the bullpen in a situation to blow it. And it's tough to say because the offense is doing their job and getting leads, but I guess the more runs, the better. And yeah, hopefully they're able to acquire a couple relievers here in the next month or so, because the guys that they have now just aren't getting the job done. And tonight they were showing a couple reactions from players. You saw Bryce Harper, as soon as the ball went into the stands, he just slumped down a little bit. We had Matt Albers on the mound. He looked very disappointed that he just given up that home run to Granderson. Should Harper, after he returned to his position, squatted down, just looking in the dugout, everyone just looks completely demoralized. And it's got to be very frustrating for these guys to keep blowing these games late. And although they do have a big division lead, you can't keep this up. And this isn't flying now, and it's not going to fly in October. So if this team has any hope, if they want to advance past the first round for the first time since coming back to DC, they really have to. The guys that they currently have in the bullpen need to step it up, and Mike Rizzo needs to go out and acquire a few more relievers, because this obviously isn't working coming into this year. They thought maybe you can make it work without a proven closer. This experiment has gone terribly, and I trust Rizzo. I think he'll fix it, but if he doesn't, I'm not sure how far they'll be able to go in the postseason, because in the postseason, when it's cold, the ball isn't flying. And this team, without Trey Turner and Adam Eaton, they're a little reliant on the long ball. And so obviously Trey Turner will be back, but in the postseason, pitching and defense wins games. And so you can't be doing this, because you can't expect Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Gio Gonzalez to pitch 9 innings every night, especially in the postseason when you're pitching on short rest most of the time. So, yeah, this isn't going to fly in the postseason for sure. And I think Mike Rizzo will go out and acquire a few guys. They'll probably I think they'll go over the luxury tax, but it's not as big of a deal. If you don't go too far over, it won't hurt you too bad. Seth said, yeah, Trey will be back. Yeah, you're right. He'll be back for sure by the postseason. But, yeah, pitching and defense, regardless of who you have offensively, pitching and defense will win games in the postseason. So definitely got to address those bullpen needs before the postseason comes. So I'll check the chat one last time. So I think that's about it for tonight. So we'd really appreciate it if you could give give this video a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, give us a like on Facebook. You could follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. You can follow me on Twitter at DrewRD98. And Ron will be with you tomorrow for the early 11 a.m. game against the Mets. It's the 4th of July. I want everyone to have a nice, safe, and fun 4th of July. And I'll be back with you soon. So thank you for tuning in tonight. And good night, everybody.